take a look, they can. Okay, so as we come into the Canvas course, you're going to notice that this is going to be our home page. And our home page, whoopsie, sorry. Our homepage really just kind of is an introduction. Okay, so so you'll notice here it says, I'm glad that you're here. First of all, there's a link here to the syllabus on the homepage, but it's also the same as the page that we see on the left-hand side here as well. So whether you click here or here, it's going to take us to the same place. So we'll start there with the syllabus. So when we click on the syllabus here, you're going to notice that we have the SolidWorks Forward Tool Design 1. At the very top here, this is kind of all the stuff. This is our course number. Our CRN is going to be the number, that's assigned to this section in the summer. This is a 2-credit class. 64 hours total. So we meet a total of 8 hours a week. So we meet twice a week for 4 hours at a time. Okay. During that time, I'm going to be lecturing and demoing stuff that you're going to be learning for that week, but there'll always be time. And I'm going to say about half-ish of our class time of that 4 hours, you'll have a chance to then do the work and get assignments done on the computers here with the software in this computer lab. Okay. It's in the summer term here, and it's the year 2024. The way that this is offered now, officially, this is coded as hybrid when you signed up. Okay. So what that means is to me, I'm actually going to be in this room lecturing every time that we meet, but you do have the option to be virtual if you want to. Okay. So Chris right now is taking advantage of that today. And again, because he's had me before, but you can use our Zoom link to connect with the class, because when I log on, just like I did today, I'm like virtually live, if you would, and you can go to,
I guess I must be the only one on Zoom,
and you can follow along virtually. And so basically what you're getting is you're going to be seeing my screen. You're going to see me in the little box up in the corner, and you're going to hear my voice in the background.
It doesn't matter.
Instead of being physically on campus, you can be remote at home or wherever it would be convenient. Okay. So, so that is an option for attendance. And go back to the syllabus here. But you also, if you're like, well, virtual works well when you have the software available to you off campus. That is not a requirement for this class because we have computers with the software loaded here. So face-to-face, that's why I'm going to be here each and every time. And if you don't have access to the software off campus, then here is where we always have it. Okay. So, but there is going to be an option, I'll show you a little bit later, where you have access as a student for being in this course and a student at WCTC. For 1 year, you get a free student version of the software available for you to download from SolidWorks website, but it's going to have to be on your own personal computer that can actually run the software. And that we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay. So you have to have a little bit of, I say a little bit of horsepower. You have to have some RAM, you have to have some disk space, and you have to have a pretty good graphics card. If you're a gamer and you run games, you'll be fine with SolidWorks. Okay. But if you have, for instance, I think somebody asked earlier about a Chromebook, that won't work. Okay. Or something that might be a little bit older with less RAM, that might not work, okay, off campus. So, so it's always worth a try to see if it's going to work for you, if you want the flexibility of having that option off campus. But remember, we always are here, our computers are loaded, we have the software, and I will always be here during our regularly scheduled time. So, so you don't have to have that off campus stuff. So our location is going to be here. So that's why I kind of have face-to-face / hybrid if you want to take advantage of that. We're going to be meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays starting at 5:30, and we're going to go till 9:20. Okay. And that's a lecture / lab. Okay. So the lab is there for you to work on your assignments. My expectation is that you'll work during the time. If you have any things to correct, or if you have any assignments that aren't in yet that are current, you'll be working. But if you get done with everything and we're going to be starting our next module the next time, you can leave early. But Not unless you have all of your stuff in and corrected and done. Okay, does that make sense? So I want to be sure that you're not shortcutting yourself because we don't want to fall behind. Okay. Now, as far as dates that we're going to be meeting, it's going to be starting today until August 1st, which is the last Thursday, but we will be off on the Thursday that's 4th of July. Okay. Obviously we're not going to have class then. Now, what we're going to be learning here in SolidWorks, there's a really long, description here, but basically you're going to be learning the basics of SolidWorks. We're going to be modeling, we're going to be creating detailed drawings, we're creating assembly drawings, and then we're going to get into some what they call, a little bit more advanced things. So you can read that if you want to, but we're going to get you good at SolidWorks, I promise. There aren't any prerequisites here. And the book that we're going to be using, okay, the book that we're going to be using is going to be this book right here. Now, it is my understanding that, number one, the bookstore wasn't open if you came in early today, like around 5 o'clock. The bookstore wasn't open anymore. But somebody said that it wasn't in the bookstore. Is that correct? They have to order it? Gosh, that's really odd because we had ordered this book for quite a long time.
I was in early today. I was on my lunch break. I did go on the same thing, so we're out of books.
That is so odd. Did anybody get the book? Okay, a couple people did. Okay. All right, good. Well, that's okay. It's not your fault. Just we're going to want to get it ASAP. I will call the bookstore tomorrow to find out, what the estimated time is. And until they get the books in, I'll make copies, I guess, for you guys. Okay. So we'll kind of see how that works tonight, but we'll get that figured out, but we do want to get it. Chris ordered it off of Amazon. Yeah. So that's another place to check if you wanted to. And I think the book is around, $65 maybe ish. It's not terrible, not terrible. And what's nice about these books is even though it's tied to the year, okay, 2 years from now, this will still be a good textbook. So if you ever wanted to go back for, referencing or anything like that, not much changes from year to year, even though they release a new version, but they're all quite similar unless they go through a big overhaul, which they haven't done in quite some time. So if you find the 2022 version of this exact book with the same authors, okay, make sure it's that. That's going to work as well for you. Okay. So that's totally fine if you find that as an option. Okay. Let me go back over here. But we are going to be using it. I am going to be, referencing tutorials that are in there as well as the end of chapter assignments. So you're going to want the copy of it. But in the meantime, until we get it in the bookstore, we'll kind of figure that out. I'll make copies. So other materials, you're going to want a jump drive, and the jump drive is there for you to back up. Okay. As always, I know we have our OneDrive here. It's just good practice to have another copy of it. If you happen to be, downloading the software off campus and then you want to pull it up here online as well, or here on the computers, being able to work in both places, you're going to need a jump drive to be able to do that. So that's a good investment. I wouldn't go out and buy one, just, a jump drive. It should be fine. Notebooks and pencil to take notes in whatever form that you want. And when I say calculator, it can even be on your phone. Okay. I don't want anybody to go out and buy a calculator. So, you don't even need, sine, cosine, tangent. It doesn't have to be scientific, but it's just probably a calculator that you can use quickly. Computers have the calculator on it as well. So just so you know. Now, optionally, if you choose to be virtual or if you want to access the software off campus, you'll need a computer or a laptop capable of running the free downloaded software for SolidWorks. You will be downloading it from the internet, so you need relatively high speed connection, but it will be a download. So it's not like you're running it through the internet, but to actually download it, it takes a little while to do that. If you are virtual, I do like you guys to have a working webcam. Not that you have to have it on all the time, but I want to know that you're there and that kind of thing. So you feel a little bit more a part of the group. So that's that. Any questions so far? All right. So who am I? As I said earlier, I'm Kelly Riba. I'm going to be your instructor. This is my email here at WCTC, so kriba@wctc.edu. And then I do include my cell phone number that you can call or text. That is always probably the most immediate way to get a hold of me. So if you happen to not be coming to class, I do expect you to let me know that ahead of time. Preferably by email, but if you want to text me, you can text me as well. If you're working off campus and you have a question, you can always text me, okay? Doesn't mean that I'll be immediate, but I will get back to you, I promise. Okay. So, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Preferred method, email or text messages is going to be, getting a hold of me. Expectations and response. I do respond within 24, 48 hours or so. If you don't hear from me within 24 hours, just retext me or email me. And I promise it's not that I would have been ignoring you. It probably just got down on my emails. I'm in summer mode myself. Okay. So I just teach this one summer class and it's twice a week. And not that that means that it's any less important, but I'm probably doing other stuff, you know, during the day. So at times, texting is the best because then I'll more immediately get any messages that you might have. The Zoom link, if you choose to be virtual, it's going to be over on the left-hand side here through the Zoom link. And then you just click on the day that we have our meeting. My office is up in the second floor of the I building, but we're going to be down here. So I don't think that's a big deal. Office hours are by appointment. I'm usually here 15, 20, maybe about a half hour before class starts. So, but otherwise we can make an appointment even via Zoom if needed, if you need to talk to me individually. What we're going to learn in this class, we kind of already talked about generally what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking at solid models, assemblies, detailed drawings, configurations of sample parts. We're going to learn good techniques of file management, which will be starting today already. And then some advanced techniques as well and features. Critical life skills. In this class at WCTC, there are three listed here: critical life skills, communication, critical thinking and problem solving, and also self-management are going to be practiced here in this particular course. So, so communication, whenever we are creating drawings, for instance, to be created, that is a graphical means of communication. So we're going to be practicing the proper way to create those drawings so that parts can be manufactured accordingly. Critical thinking and problem solving. In some cases, you're going to be, having to try to devise a plan and an order of operations, if you would, on how you're going to build a model based on information that you're given. So problem solving is going to be part of this. And then also self-management. Self-management here is really time management and making sure that you're, here on task, that you're going to be getting things in on time, that you're going to be keeping up with the work. It's all kind of on you to do that. Okay. So, so those are going to be the things that we practice. Now, what program outcomes will be addressed? Now, this particular class is not in my wheelhouse. I teach in the mechanical design and engineering technology program area. We do this stuff. This is like our thing. We do CAD modeling, we create drawings, we do tolerance stacks, GD&T, all that kind of stuff. And we get pretty deep into it. We have, a couple classes that our students do. So, so I'm not exactly sure what your program outcomes, because I think this can be in a couple different program areas. So I don't have them listed here, but know that what we are learning is going to be reinforcing things that would be expected or you're going to see out in industry for sure. Okay. What external standards are we going to be addressing? There is a dimensional standard. It's the ASME Y 14.5, and the current standard year is 2018. Doesn't change every year. It changes. It gets updated about every 9 to 11 years, depending, if there's anything major. So the current standard is the 2018 standard, even though we're in 2014. What technology will you need? Now, as I said earlier, all the computers and the software is loaded here in our room. You do not need to buy a computer or to have available to run the software. In the event you want the flexibility to be able to work off campus, okay, then you're going to have a laptop or a computer that is able to run the software and get it downloaded, okay? So, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. No privacy practices or accessibility policies right now that are applicable to this class. Technology skills that you're going to want to have, being able to navigate WCTC's kind of Canvas learning management system. It sounds like everybody's kind of there already. Just how far along in your program are you if you're taking this SolidWorks class? Are you like halfway done? Are you beginning? So about halfway done?
Yeah.
Towards the end, like, but more than halfway. So you've had multiple classes where you've gotten on campus and navigated around. So it seems like everybody's comfortable with that. Okay, so that's a good thing. Also, basic Windows navigation. So we're going to be saving our files that we're going to be creating because we want to be able to pull them up or re-reference them when needed. So so we're going to be, you know, kind of expecting that people kind of know, you know, how to go around and create files. I'll help you do that, but that's going to be a skill that you probably have done up until this point. And then also using a jump drive to save. And the jump drive, again, is there for two purposes. Number one, to back up files for you. We just never know, okay? So it's always good to do a backup. I always say save as often as you don't want to redo what you just did, okay? So you don't want to get all the way to the end of a part and you try to save and all of a sudden it says, yeah, this is corrupt, and then you get like that blue screen or things like just like disappear. So you want to save often, and you want to save often in two places. It's really best practice. Because believe it or not, files can become corrupt for no apparent reason. It's in like software like this. So, so you probably could do it twice the very same way. And one time it would be corrupt and the next time it wouldn't. So, so having the backup is really nice because then again, you don't have to start over. And then also if you choose to work off campus, it gives you that ability to go between the two places. Okay. If you need any technical assistance, and this includes downloading the software, anything that might arise Canvas wise, you can call WCTC's help desk, and the number is there, as well as sending an email to them as well. They're very responsive and very good. I've had students where they couldn't get the software to work on their laptops, and they would take it to our help desk here during their hours, and they were able to help them. That group loads all the software, you know, for all the computers on campus. So they have a good handle on, you know, how SolidWorks works and stuff. I really don't. I wish I did. But you know, sometimes I can help students around technically, but sometimes I can't. And it's not because I'm not good at what I do. It's just that's not the side of things that I focus on. I focus on using the software as opposed to troubleshooting it. How will you be graded? So this is the stuff that you're probably most interested in. So there's a couple things that we're going to be doing for our class here. Number one, there's going to be practice problems that you do. That's worth 10% of your grade. You get one attempt at the practice problems. The practice problems are going to be things that I demonstrate here in class, and they're going to be tutorials in the chapters that we're going to be covering. So basically how this chapter works is it's going to be working a tutorial for a part through a section of pages in the chapter. And that's really kind of getting you familiar with the features and the things that are going to allow you to do the end of chapter assignments. Okay. So during class, I'm going to be doing a demo of our tutorial, and we're going to be working through it along, you know, together in class here. Because I show you how to do it, because we have the tutorial here, you have the step-by-step, you get one attempt. It's either like you're done or you're not. All right. This isn't something that you correct for extra points. I kind of just look at it as you did the practice. Now, after you do the practice, you go to doing the assignment. So that's worth 10% of your grade. Okay. Then you're going to notice that we have module assignments. That's 80% of your grade. Those are going to be assignments that I give you for parts that are at the end of each one of the chapters that are going to relate to whatever we learned earlier in the chapter. So stuff that we learned early in the chapter is going to set you up for, you know, being able to do those assignments. Those assignments, if you guys, that's going to be our work time. So for instance, during our, I'm going to call it lab time. So I'm going to lecture, I'm going to do our demo. It's going to be the tutorial out of here. You can follow along for the practice problem or finish it up during our lab time, but then you're going to have time to work on the assignments. The assignments then are for you to get started on. And if you're like, hey, Kelly, could you demonstrate or get us started on part blah, blah, blah. That's what I'll do. And then I'll also record that so that if anybody wants to go back and look at that, they can. But if you're confident and you feel like, oh, I can do these things, and you want to keep working at your own pace, you certainly can do that as well. And then when you get to a point where you need help, you call on me or ask me to demonstrate something, and that's what our lab time is going to be. Okay. So, so that's going to be your module assignments. That's 80% of your grade. Now, the assignments you get 2 attempts for, okay? Meaning you're going to submit it once, and then you can do a correction once. Okay. So, so I feel that when you have that opportunity to make corrections, I think it's something you can learn from. Okay. I hate to, correct something or grade something and then just move on. I want you to kind of go through that process of making it better. Okay. And getting it where it needs to be, and hopefully learning from that. Because I have to believe that when you hand something in, you think what you did was correct, right? And if it isn't quite there, then I do want you to make the corrections so that you understand better what the expectations are, or, do whatever it was that was there. So you get 2 attempts, all right? And you get 2 attempts for full credit. So for instance, most of every one of my problems is going to be worth 10 points, okay? And let's say you get 2 points off on one, and you want to make the corrections to it, you can make the corrections and you get those full 2 points back. Okay. So you can get a 10 out of 10 then. All right. Now you're going to notice that I also have in there what we call a 7-day grace period. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this momentarily, and we're going to look at our calendar. Okay. Our calendar is like outside of the class, and I have class here. I don't want that one on. I want my SolidWorks class on. Okay. This is our calendar. So I populate the calendar here in Canvas. All right. This allows me to move things if I need to. Okay. Otherwise, if I put it on a list, it doesn't happen often, but if I put it on a list and then we kind of, have to do things and move things around, it gets harder to do it, and people get lost in where that is. So I always rely on our calendar here. So what you're going to notice is that I always have on the day what we're going to be doing, what module we're on, for instance. So in our first week here, we're on module 1. We're going to be on module 1 today and the next time that we meet. And then the 5:30 here, this is just when our class is meeting. Okay. And then you're going to notice that usually on Fridays. Now I picked Fridays as an arbitrary day. It's the end of the week, and I have assignment number 1 due. Okay, so that's a module assignment, and I have module 1 practice problems. That's what this is right here. So practice problems, and the assignment is due at the end of the week. Now, this is what I call the set due date. You have a 7-day grace period in order to get this work in. Okay, so what that means is if you don't get it completely done. So let's say you're working and you just didn't get, you have one missing, or you didn't quite get it done. Instead of asking me, can I have extra time to do that, Kelly? You have 7 days. All right. You just have 7 days. So at the end of the day, on the 21st is the end of the 7-day grace period for assignment 1 and the practice problems. Okay. Now, this is the deal though. You have that full week to, number 1, submit for full credit, and number 2, to make any corrections for full credit on the assignment. Okay. You also have that full 7-day grace period to hand in the practice problems. Remember, those are only 1 attempt because I demonstrate those and there's a tutorial. So no corrections on that. I just want to make sure that you do it. So you have the 7-day grace period, full credit. Now, if you hand in on the last day of the 7-day grace period, I cannot guarantee you that I can get it back to you graded for you to make any corrections that may need to be made. So you kind of live with that. All right. But any corrections that you made in here, it goes back to the full points. Anything after the 7-day grace period, if you hand in an assignment after the 7-day grace period and only the assignment is available, practice problems I don't take anymore after the 7-day grace period. They're done. Okay. But any assignment you can hand in till the end of the semester, end of the term, I'm sorry, till August 1st, for 25% off of whatever you earn. And it's a one-shot deal. Okay. So the best you can get is 75% of whatever the total points are. Okay. And you can't make corrections to that grade. Does that make sense to everybody? So you still can. So that's why I don't want people to think, well, if I don't make the due date, she's not going to accept it. And you've got to stress about getting it in there. Number 1, you get a 7-day grace period. You don't have to ask me for extra time. But after that 7-day grace period, if you treat that 7-day grace period like the due date, then you live with 25%, after. Okay. So try to get things in by the due date as close as possible, because then you're ensured that everything's going to go smoothly the rest of the semester or the rest of the term. Because when we get to the end here, notice that we've got module 7 here. Module 7 work is going to be due on the last day of the class. There's not a 7-day grace period for module 7 because it's the last day of the class. All right. So you have a little bit of flexibility with your due dates and the 7-day grace period inside of the term. But when we get to the end, it's the end of the course. You don't get an extra 7 days anymore because my grades have to be in early the following week. Done. Okay. Any questions on that? A couple of you have had me before and kind of probably understand that because that's how I run most of my classes. But for those who are new to me, that's okay. I'll continue every time we start class. I'm always going to be looking at the calendar, going over things, letting you know where we're at, and letting you know what's eligible and where we're at, 7-day grace period kind of thing. And then once we kind of get into it a couple weeks and a couple modules, it'll start to make more sense. Okay. So any questions at the moment right now? Okay. So, I do want to iterate too that, our due dates, I understand that if you have vacations planned or you're not going to be able to be here, that's okay, but due dates are still due dates and you still have a 7-day grace period and you're still responsible to get those things in. All right. Just so that you know, I can't make exceptions for everybody's vacation schedule, unfortunately. All right. So, let me get back to the syllabus and get down to where we were at. The last part of our how our grade is calculated is going to be the attendance policy. Okay. So you get 10% for your attendance and everybody gets 10%. Right now you've got 10%. All right. It's really nowhere in the grade book, but what happens is everybody gets 1 free excused absence. Okay. 1 free. After that, any that you're not here for, and you have to let me know that you're not going to be here, you're going to get a -2% off of that 10% grade. Okay. Just so that you know. And that's kind of a bummer. So that's my carrot or my encouragement. If you have a planned vacation and it's going to be that you're going to be missing 2, well, you just lose 2% off of that participation grade. Okay. It is what it is. All right. I can't, just because it's planned ahead of time doesn't change this for you. I'm trying to make it fair for everybody. So everybody gets 1, but then, but if you have a second, 3rd, 4th, each one of those gets a -2%. Okay. The grading scale is consistent with WCTC's grading scale. So you're probably familiar with that. So I'm not going to go over that. When can you expect feedback on your assignments? So how soon does Kelly grade? I try to turn them around ASAP. So if you're handing stuff in, for instance, if we're in lab time in class, I try to get those things corrected for you right away. Okay. And then I'm in here almost every single day. I'm not going to guarantee weekends. It's summer, but I'm usually in here. I like to end my day always with everything graded. So within 24, 48 hours, you're going to see things graded. And I do that for the purpose of, if you have that opportunity to make that correction, I want to give you as much time as possible to do that. Okay. I don't want you waiting on me if there's something to correct so that you can gain those points back. All right. So I'm usually in here pretty, very often. Attendance, how often do you have to come to class? So kind of bouncing off of that attendance participation, 10% of your overall grade. You do get 1 without any penalty at all, but then after that, it's going to be a 2% deduction. Here, I'd let you know that you will be dropped after a total of 6. Okay. Six absences is 3 weeks in this class. That's a chunk of time. All right. So make sure that, that's not happening. Okay. And excused absence is when you email me or text me before class to let me know that you're not going to be attending. Attendance is required for each one of our lecture demos. This can either be in person or it can be virtual. Okay. So our lecture demo is a time that you can gain an understanding of the concepts during my lecture pertaining to the assigned chapters in the textbook. So it'll be more clear a little bit later when we do start looking at SolidWorks, but Chris, what he's seeing right now, because he's virtual, is what's on my screen. Okay. And then he's hearing my voice in the background and he's seeing me up in the corner there, like you do on the screen here. That's as close to really duplicating what we're doing here in class as possible. When I'm underneath our camera here, my screen just updates. So whatever on my screen here, and then you'll hear my voice in the background is anything that you're going to be seeing, you know, under this camera as well. And again, I'm also recording at the same time so that if you wanted to go back, whether you're here or not, sometimes you might want to go back to see how I did something and review it. Those recordings will be out there for you as well. And I'll show you in a little bit in Canvas where those will be. Okay. So our lecture demo is going to be a time for you to gain understanding of the concepts during my lecture pertaining to the assigned chapters in the text. Additionally, I'll perform demonstrations that will mimic the assigned module assignments to help you understand the formatting of the work that I'm going to be handing in. So even if you do some of this modeling stuff and you're really good at it, it's going to be important that you understand how to hand things in. There's a certain format that I have you do that in, and it's so that I can get a good understanding of what you're doing. So, so always make sure that you understand how to hand in and what's expected for the work. And I will, again, demonstrate all of that as we go through things. If you're unable to attend a class, it is your responsibility to watch the recorded videos from the time that you're absent to catch yourself up on the material you missed before the next time we meet. There's one thing that I don't hate anything, but there's one question that I'm gonna be annoyed. If somebody comes to me, they weren't in class the time before, and they say, did I miss anything last time? Yes, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Because we do stuff each and every time. This is an 8-week course. We move really quickly. The recordings are out there. If you miss, I am not going to follow up and say, make sure you watch the video. You watch the video before you come next time. Okay? Because otherwise you're going to be lost. Because whatever we do the previous time, we build on for the next one. That's how this class works. We start with the foundation and then we build. And if you miss a class or two in a row, even if you don't have the software at home, watch the videos. When you watch the replays, I understand it's not super exciting. I mean, you're watching an hour and a half of Kelly doing CAD work. It's not great, but you do have the opportunity to speed me up. Okay, so I upload them to YouTube. So if you ever watch YouTube and you know, go onto a video, you can go to that little, I think it's like a little gear in the corner, and you can change the playback speed. So if you want to speed me up a little bit or go to certain sections, you can do that on the replay, but make sure you do that. All right. Because I'm not going to sit with you in class and try to get you up to speed. I'm going to say, you're going to have to watch the video. And I'm not being a jerk, but you will get more out of watching that video because you'll see everything that we did the previous time than me trying to just tell you in 20 minutes what we did. Does that make sense? So, so that's my expectation for you. And yeah, don't ask that question. Did I miss anything? Yes, you missed stuff. We always miss stuff, right? Okay. Okay. Anyway, I know nobody in here would ever ask that. They know it's very important to be here all the time. Late work. Can I submit late work? So kind of going off of and reiterating what we talked about earlier, each one of our assignments and practice problems is going to have that set due date. You will be able to hand in practice problems and module assignments 7 days after that set due date. And I call that the grace period, the 7-day grace period. And you can get full credit during that time. Practice problems are not accepted though after the 7-day grace period, and they go to a 0. All right. Remember, they're worth 10% of your grade. Very much worth doing them. Okay. It's in kind of an easy 10%. It's also going to be tutorials out of here, and it's going to be my demonstrations like top to bottom. All right. So, so those are going to be the practice problems. The module assignments though, they can be handed in and corrections can be made during that 7-day grace period. But after that 7-day grace period elapses, you can still hand in those assignments. Remember, those are 80% of your grade. I still want you to do those, but you will get a deduction of that 25%. So 75% of whatever you earn is what the grade is going to be in the grade book. No corrections can be made to module assignments after that 7-day grace period though. So once you pass that 7-day grace period, number one, 25% deduction and only one submission is allowed. So if there's anything off of that, that's even a little bit more. Okay. So your best deal is going to be during the set due date to the end of the 7-day grace period. Keep in mind, these 7-day grace periods are during the term, but no work will be accepted after the last day. So again, like I showed you earlier, that module 7 doesn't get a 7-day grace period. That's the end of the semester or term. This is just a little note. Students who attend class on a regular basis and hand their work in by the due dates earn the highest scores in my classes, okay? This is an unscientific observation. I've been teaching for 25 years now, okay? And I've been teaching in this program area. And students who show up on a regular basis and keep up with the homework, you're gonna get an A, maybe a B, all right? I guarantee, I just know it, okay? I just know it. I shouldn't say I guarantee it, but that's what you're gonna get. If you start missing and you start not being able to be here, it just, it's gonna kind of, you know, rear its ugly head. And you know what? Sometimes it's just not your fault. Sometimes you're sick. Sometimes things are coming up and this is the only time you can take the class. I get it. So don't beat yourself up if you don't get an A at the end because you had to miss a couple times. You probably missed for good reasons. That's okay. But just know that, especially if you don't take the time to watch the videos and catch yourself up and stay on task with things, that it could affect your grade. Okay. All right. And then the other things that are here. So learning environment etiquette. What are the expectations for your classroom behavior? Okay. First and foremost, overarching, we have WCTC Student Conduct Code, and that's the expectation there. There's a link here to that. But the things that for me in my classroom that I think are worth you know, talking about is the list that we see here. First of all, try to come to class by 5:30. I do like to start on time. And at the beginning of class, I always kind of go over the calendar and like any due dates and things like that. And I don't record those, okay? I don't record that part of my lecture. I record more like the content of the lecture, like the demonstrations and such. So, so make sure that if you do come late, just know you're probably gonna miss that kind of thing. Still come. Don't think that I'm gonna shut the door. We only shut the door today because there was some noise from the construction across the way. It wasn't because I was like, nobody's coming in after 5:30 or anything like that. Come in, all right? If you're running late, I don't want anybody to rush here going over the speed limit or, you know, I'm gonna be late for class, she's gonna be mad. I'm not gonna be mad, but I'm starting at 5:30. That's it, okay? So make sure that you still come here, but be safe about it. I know we're not in winter, so I always tell students too, if the weather isn't good, you know, just take your time. Just take your time. I don't want anybody having an accident trying to get here to SolidWorks class. Be ready to work when we get to class. So try to remove all distractions. Have your webcam on and working at all times within reason. Like I said, when I'm in my lecture, it's not a big deal. I don't need you to have your webcam on, but it is nice in the beginning to, you know, when we're doing our start of class and such, when you're virtual. Come to class with any pre-work done. And when I say pre-work, it's probably if you miss class, watching the video or, you know, things like that. There really isn't much pre-work that you need to do in this class, in, you know, particular. Be respectful of others by refraining from chatting to other students while others are asking questions or answering, or when I'm answering questions and I'm actively lecturing. Stay on task with the work during lecture and lab time. Refrain from personal electronic devices during our scheduled time, please. During open work time. So kind of like what I said, the first part of class is normally going to be about an hour and a half. Oh gosh, I would hate to go 2 hours, but sometimes I might go a little longer where I'm doing my demonstration and going over things. Okay. And then the rest of the time is going to be for you to work. All right. So, so during that work time, just keep conversations at a low level and on task with the topic that we have, you know, for our lessons. Please take any personal conversations outside. Topics of conversation that are off limits: religion, politics, sex, race, or anything else that's causing angst. Okay. I know that there is an election coming up. Okay. But I'd prefer not to have that stuff talked about in class. Okay. So keep that in mind. Work only on the current class, on the current class during our open lab times, unless you have work to catch up on or to submit or needs to be graded. Okay. So, so make sure that you're, you know, keeping on task with where we're at. You are required to stay during our open lab times if you have incomplete or unsubmitted work for the current or previous modules. Okay. I am not going to like say that you have to be here in class. If somebody says, do you mind if I leave because, you know, whatever reason, there's a multitude of reasons. I'm not going to hold you in class, but just know that you're missing out on work time. So if you are depending on the computers and the software that are here in this room, this is your best time to do it. All right. But if you do have the means outside of class, that'll be good too. Feel free to ask any questions as they come up during my lecture or demos. Even though I'm recording, I want to reflect exactly what the lecture is, because questions that you have are probably questions that other people have. So I never want people to refrain from any questions or asking something while I'm recording, because I'm recording. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm just recording our lecture. All right. So I want it to just be what it normally would be. Help your fellow students if you can. No swearing in my class. Okay. So please don't swear. Refrain from that. I know. So if you have a bad habit like that, just be careful. I'm not going to kick you out. I'll just be like, I'll call you out on it though. I'm like, okay, that's enough. But don't. That sounds yucky. And always apply the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Okay. So if somebody's asking you a question, try to help them out. Okay. The best way sometimes to learn something is to show somebody how to do it, believe it or not. So, so that's a great opportunity for that. Personal electronic device use in my class. You don't have to hand your phones in. You don't have to turn them off or anything like that. Please put them on vibrate if you remember. If it rings, it rings. It's no big deal. But what I do ask is that you don't pull it out when you're working. Keep it away as a non-distraction. And if you need to take a phone call, feel free to go outside and even if I'm lecturing, just do what you need to do. Other policies. So correcting module assignments. I encourage you to make corrections to graded assignments. You can resubmit for the earned points back one time. So remember, for assignments, there's assignments and there's practice problems. So for the assignments, you get 2 submissions, the initial submission and then corrections for full points. Okay. Corrections can be accepted 1 week, 7 days after that set due date. Once that 7-day grace period elapses, you can't make any corrections anymore. And if you do hand in for the first time, you get 25% deduction. You can't correct practice problems. Okay. Practice problems, again, are exactly that. I want to make sure that you're doing the practice to set you up for the assignments, but I don't correct those. If I notice there's 1 or 2 little things, I'm going to probably put it in there, but you're not going to lose points on 1 or 2 little things. It's something I glance at, and if it's something that's like glaringly missing or wrong, I'll point it out. But if I start crossing over into, 3, 4, 5 things, you just get a 0. All right. And I'll let you know what it was, but you can't make corrections to it. So that's why when I'm doing my demonstrations, when I'm telling you how to format stuff, when there's tutorials, you should be following along with that, because that's going to get you familiar with what we need to do. Okay. And that's the practice problems. After the 7-day grace period, you cannot hand in practice problems. They go to a 0. Course extension. There are no course extensions. When the end date is there, August 1st, that's the end date. To get a course extension, we would have to get the approval of the associate dean, and only in extenuating circumstances can we get that done. Okay. So make your best effort. I'm not saying that an extenuating circumstance doesn't come up. I hope it doesn't for anybody. Okay. But saying that you got behind during the semester or during the term and you just need extra time because you weren't managing your time very well earlier won't be what he's going to need to give you the extension. Okay. So, so that's why it's really important that you stay on task right from the start of the course. Communication outside of class, as we already said, you can email me, you can text me. I say I don't guarantee a response on the weekends. I will, but after 8, I'm not going to lie, going to be late for me when we're here till 9:30. I sometimes in bed by 8 o'clock because I'm usually outside all day. So anyway, so yeah, I'm usually in bed kind of early. I'm usually up about 4 o'clock. Cheating. If you're caught cheating in my class using somebody else's work, you will be withdrawn immediately and given an F in this class. All right. This is the one thing that I say to you. I can figure out pretty darn quickly if you're cheating or not. It's not that hard with electronic files. Okay. But if you're getting caught cheating from me because I'm not looking for it, I'm expecting you're paying for this class, you want it, it's going to be important for you to be successful in not only the program, but out in industry. I expect that you kind of want to do this, and SolidWorks is kind of fun. All right. don't cheat. If you, and if you need extra time, usually people cheat because they're not going to get something in on time and they don't want to lose points. Well, you've got a 7-day grace period. And if you play with the 7-day grace period and you use the 7-day grace period as your due date, well, then you still can hand in and it's just going to be a 25% deduction. So it's not the end of the world. So I hope that by eliminating that part of it, that cuts down on a lot of cheating. All right. And if there's something you don't understand, just ask. I can demonstrate it. Okay, please. It actually hurts my feelings when I catch people cheating. It does. I'm like, crap, they didn't think I was going to help them. Okay, that's not the case. Outside of class work, I really try to run this class, especially because it's technology driven and not everybody has the ability to have a computer and the software outside of class that you're going to have time during class to do things. Sometimes an assignment might take you a little bit longer than it takes somebody else. Nobody gets extra points for being done early. Okay. So, so if you do find yourself not getting quite done on time, then maybe come to class a little bit earlier next time, or making sure that you're spending the time here in class. So I try to gauge the assignments that are going to be kind of middle of the road, making sure that everybody can get done with things. Okay. And there'll always be time to work every time that we meet. Virtual live Zoom sessions. I'll always be broadcasting live from the classroom here. So I will always be in person. So you could treat this class as an in-person mode all the time. Okay. Because I'll always be here. But if you did want to or needed to exercise the virtual version, you can use the Zoom link. Okay. So, so that's totally fine. Lecture recordings, I'll be recording our lectures. They'll be posted on Canvas after class is done because I can't get the recording until I close out Zoom. Okay, that's when it actually does the compiling. So those won't be available until after class. And then check your email every day. In the event I need to cancel class, I can't guarantee it. I'm planning on being here every Tuesday and Thursday, but just like you, things can happen. So, so check your email every day because in the event I do need to change class or to cancel class, then I'll email you guys to let you know in time. Okay. Should not, I hope it doesn't happen, but I'm not saying it can't. Where to get help. There's a lot of resources here on campus. I know in summer it's a little bit different, but there's academic advising and things. I'm going to be, if you need any help in this class, SolidWorks wise, I'm going to be your main resource. Okay. But there's the other things here that WCTC provides. What dates do you need to know? Tuesdays and Thursdays, June 11th through August 1st, except 4th of July. I hope you're having fun that day. We'll be off for that holiday. So syllabus wise, are there any questions at this time? I know, it's just, we got to get through it. Okay. Let's take a peek at Canvas here so you can see how things are going to be formatted, and then we'll kind of move on. So as you can see down the side here, we start with our home, and then I also have the announcements. Announcements that are here, you probably noticed you got them emailed to you. So all the announcements will always be emailed, but you can always reread them if you want to here on the left-hand side here. Then underneath the syllabus, you're going to notice these are the modules. So what I have out there right now, I have module 1 kind of fully out here, and then I'll be adding modules 2 through 7 as we go along. So I'm going to look at the module first, and then we'll go back up to the top here. So module 1, you're going to notice I have an introduction. It's going to be introduction to SolidWorks. If we click on the learning plan, this is going to be the stuff that we're going to be doing. Okay. So I kind of have what I call competencies up here. These are going to be after completing this module, you'll be able to utilize the SolidWorks interface, utilize the display options, adhere to proper file management techniques. You're gonna be able to create sketches and also create extrudes. Okay, that's gonna be our main focus here. The learning activities, we're gonna be focusing on chapters 1 and 2. Okay, and chapter 1 is kind of an introduction to the environment. Chapter 2 is gonna be where we're gonna actually start creating models. And then you're going to notice that we're going to work a practice problem during our lecture demo. That's called the adjuster, and that's in chapter 2. I'm going to get started on that tonight. And then the things that you're going to submit are going to be practice problems for module 1 and assignment number 1. All right. So that's our, if you would, learning plan. Those are the things that we're going to be doing over the time that we have assigned for module 1. So module 1 this week is today, Tuesday, and Thursday. So we're going to be working on this for the 2 full days. Okay. Then if I go back a level, back over here, you'll notice that I have module 1 session recordings. Now, for right now, isn't anything in here because we haven't done anything, but what will be listed here are going to be the links to the YouTube videos of the recordings that I did for our lecture, okay? So those will be populated there for each one of our modules. Then underneath here, and I always like to indent anything that you're going to be handing in. So module 1 practice problems. So module 1 practice problem, it's really a problem, not problems. You're going to be doing the adjuster, okay? And it's going to be a tutorial out of chapter 2 here. I'm going to be demonstrating it, and by either following along or working it independently, you'll then be handing it in. I'm going to let you in on exactly how I want you to hand it in and the portion that you're going to be screenshotting for me. And then assignment 1, when we click on that, you're going to notice that you're going to be doing, it looks like 6 models that are at the end of the chapter. Okay. And that's going to be the assignment then at the end. So, so by doing the practice problem, the adjuster, and then also, I can lead you on getting started or doing some of these demos, then you're going to have the, this is going to be what you're going to be actually handing in for the assignment. And again, some instructions on handing in, but I'll demonstrate that for you guys as well. So that's going to be what module 1 looks like. Module 2 is going to be that very same flavor: learning plan, session recordings, practice problems, assignment. Okay. And so on. And we're going to be going through and working through our book. I don't know if we're going to hit every single chapter, but a chunk of the book we're going to get through. Okay. So that's going to be kind of our modules. As I look up at the top here, this is where, if you wanted to get off-campus access to SolidWorks, this is optional. I can't stress that enough. I don't want anybody to leave here today thinking they have to go out and buy a computer and try to get SolidWorks on it. You don't have to, because we have them here. All right. This is only if you want the flexibility of having access to it to be able to do assignments off campus. Now, notice that our book is SolidWorks 2023. The software on these computers is SolidWorks 2023. What I'm asking you to get and download is SolidWorks 2023. But when you go to download, when you go to this link to download it, okay, and I'm going to go out there right now, you're going to fill out this information, and the default says 2024. Do not download 2024 because SolidWorks is not reverse compatible. Okay. If you download 2024, then you're dedicated to it. All right. At home, because you won't be able to bring up those files here at WCTC because we're a version behind. All right. And they do that strategically. I actually kind of like that. The reason being is that, as you can imagine, every time a new version comes out, there's always those little bugs, right? And then you end up getting patches along the way. So WCTC always intentionally remains one version behind so that we run into less problems as we go along. Okay. And those problems are fixed. So when you do this, make sure that you click on 2023 and you download 2023, because that way, when you save files at home and you try to bring them up here at school, you don't have a problem. Okay. They're going to be compatible. Because usually what I find is I've had a couple students that'll do the 2024 and they try to come here and they try to pull up their files and they're like, well, can I pull it up? I'm like, no. So I just want to always make sure that students know that. Okay. All right. So 2023 version. We're always one version behind. This is a free student version. This is important. If you choose to download this, all the work that's going to be done can only be for academic purposes, meaning you cannot design parts or assemblies that will be made to make a profit. Okay. So if you like have an idea, now it doesn't mean that you can't model it and like you have an idea of an invention that you want to make, which is, yeah, that's something that can happen. What you can't do is you can't create the models and go through the process of prototyping and go through the process of making the parts and proving it out without having an actual license of SolidWorks. You can't do it on a student version. Okay. If you do it on the student version, then you just can't make a profit off of it. Does that make sense to everybody? So you can play around with things. You can, do all sorts of things. But just know that you can't use it. One time I had a student who he was working for a company that didn't have SolidWorks, and he was showing them cool things that SolidWorks could do. And he started doing drawings for them in SolidWorks. on his student version. I'm like, no, you can't do that. When I was at the other school that I used to be at, we could lose our license. They could be like, yeah, WCTC does not get a license anymore because you are not letting students know. So that's why I always like to let you know, this has to be for academic purposes only. All right. Now, when you do the download and you do the 2023 version, not the 2024, it's going to ask you at some point for this license key. You have to use this number right here. So it's like you can copy and paste it basically when you get to that point in the process. Okay. Now, you're going to want to have a computer that has a pretty fast graphics card. You're going to want to have at least 8 megabytes of RAM. And I forget exactly how much, but it'll let you know how much disk space that you're going to need as well to run SolidWorks. Okay. It'll bog down your computer if you kind of push those limits. I always say it's worth a try if you want the flexibility. Okay. But so you might be kind of surprised. I do know a Chromebook, no, because it just doesn't have, that's more for, I think, browsing the internet, correct? Isn't that, it's bigger purpose. So I'm certain it won't run on a Chromebook, but if you have a laptop that's a couple of years old or a computer that's a couple of years old, give it a try and see. If you're a gamer, you're golden. That'll work totally fine. Is anybody a gamer? Not even one? I'm surprised. Or maybe you're just not raising. Come on, somebody's got a game. Well, I don't really. Not the yucky games. I do like Mario Kart. But Rainbow Road, that was on the old one. All right. So any questions about SolidWorks? Okay. Oops, chat here. Oh, so Chris, he said it took you 20 minutes to download at home on 5G wireless. Yeah, it takes a little while. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. It's a beefy program, quite honestly. All right. Yeah, and I think the graphics card is the bigger deal than anything else, quite honestly, because you'll see we're going to be moving things around. All right. How many people think that they'll be taking advantage of SolidWorks off campus? So you're going to give it a try. Okay, a couple people. Awesome. Yeah, do it. It is worth a try. Remember 2023, not 2024. Okay. And like I said, if you do 2024, it just means that it really won't change much as far as, what's in the book and what we do, quite honestly. But you just won't have that reverse compatibility. So if you try to, pull something up here and continue working on it, that's where you're going to run into the problem. You just then need to keep working on the version that you have. All right. So that's the modules. Any questions about SolidWorks at this time? All right. The Zoom link is here. So when you go into the Zoom link, if you choose to be virtual, I'm going to kind of move this over. You're going to notice that you're always going to have, there's multiple meetings out here. So it's going to be whatever the current day is the one that you're going to go to. And then you may go into a waiting room until I get it, up and open. If you want to look at the assignments, I have the assignments in order here. Right now, I only have assignment 1 out there and practice problems for module 1, excuse me. But as they, get formatted, this is going to continue to populate. So you can see those out there. Your grades. Oh, I can't do that. Sorry. Nobody has any grades in, so I'm not divulging anything, but your grades aren't going to look like my grades. My grades are going to show everybody's grades, but yours, you can look at your grades and you can see, how you're doing at any given point in the class. As we get further along, the course evaluation will be there. If you want to utilize Microsoft Office 365 off campus, that's available to you. That's a free version that you can utilize. And I just left grades sync here for you guys. I don't know what that is, honestly, but I didn't know. So that's there. So any questions right now as we look at Canvas and what the course looks like? All right. So let me think. I think I'm going to stop our overview right now. So I'm going to stop recording.